Morning guys, hope everyone's doing well. In the workshop this morning, and I thought I'd have a little discussion about pipe shapes. In front of you, I've got a breadth of pipes that I would say aren't really too dissimilar from each other. These are all my pipes that I own, and you can kind of see a slight theming throughout them, kind of different shapes I like. Of course, everyone's got their own shapes and preferences. Personally, for me, I'm still not really there. I've seen Mark Welsh Piper talk about how kind of he's been smoking for kind of 2.5 years. He's not really got his favourite shape yet. But I would say there's nothing wrong with that. Kind of, I don't have my favourite shape after all this time, because my favourite shape changes because it depends on the time of the day, the tobacco, the time of year. Personally, I would say I gravitate more towards straight pipes. For example, this Radice gets a lot of use. Of course, straight Liverpool. But for me, it depends a lot on weight and size. If it's a straight pipe, but it's really heavy, I don't get on with it too well because I would say I clench on and off. I wouldn't say I'm a clencher, but occasionally, if I'm lighting a pipe or I'm doing some work in the workshop or I'm doing this or that, I might clench the pipe. And if it's a straight pipe and it's heavy, I find it hard to clench. If it's a bent pipe, let's say, so along the lines of this, quite a heavy pipe, quite a large pipe. If this was straight, it would be really quite hard to clench personally for me. But because this is a bent pipe, to clench it, I don't find it too challenging. Quite easy, despite it being quite a heavy pipe. And that's because the way bent pipes are designed and engineered is they have a certain balance to them, where as long as the weight of the pipe isn't really thrown off kind of a really heavy bowl or a really heavy backside to the pipe, it's fine, and they are very clenchable. But yeah, in terms of pipe shape, it was part of the giveaway question, kind of what's your favourite pipe shape? Part of the reason I asked that is because I'm always interested. It's great to see kind of the diversity of pipe shapes. How many people smoke filtered, non-filtered. But in terms of myself, it's a tough one. Of course, you have your billiards here. I've got some apples. You might have a billiard, for example, this one and this one. But then you've got derivatives, this being Liverpool. I've got 2 bent brandies. Again, very different styles, different shapings, but here you got apples. Again, different styles, different shaping. Of course, some are factory pipes, that's my own one. But I would probably say my 2 favourite shapes are billiards and apples, or derivatives of those. Of course, most pipe shapes you could say is a derivative of a billiard in some form. But for me, an apple and brandy shape, you can lump into the same category, depending upon the style, whether it be kind of American, English, Danish, Italian styles. Some brandies and apples can look very familiar, but there is of course a difference. But for me, I would say, it's probably straight billiards and bent apples. They're my 2 favourite shapes. I couldn't narrow it down to a singular one. Of course, these are only the pipes I've had now. I've had a lot more pipes in the past. I will have a lot more pipes in the future. These are all the pipes I smoke now, but I do change up my pipe rotation quite often. I had a really nice Stanwell that went a few months ago. I've had a few Bijan pipes over the years that have went and gone. I've got a few more pipes in the drawers that I just don't smoke anymore, but I've still got. Like for example, my first ever pipe was one of the really cheap pipes you get from GQ Tobaccos. Great starter pipe. I think it was £21, so less than a tin of tobacco here now. And that was kind of what got me started. But in terms of since that and kind of everything that's evolved, of course, essentially every pipe in front of you is artisanal, apart from the Stricom. The Radice can be classed as a factory pipe, but I would class them along the same lines as Castello in terms of they are a factory brand, but the pipes are actually really a lot more artisanal, a lot more kind of handmade, hand finished compared to just a classic factory pipe. And then everything else here, mixture my own LCS, H pipes. I think I've had a few other artisans over the years. I think a few have been passed on now. I think I've gave one away. But as of now, this is my current rotation. I do have my eyes on a few new pipes. I've had my eye on a certain Italian pipe for a while. Just haven't put the trigger on that one yet. Hoping to soon though. But for me, I would say the biggest factor is weight. Of course, I am a 9mm filtered, so that's kind of, I suppose that's the most crucial part. This really nice Stricom was gifted to me by Mark, and the special thing about it is it is non-filtered. I have tried to smoke this pipe. I smoke it as much as I can. There are less than a handful of blends that I can smoke in that pipe that aren't too uncomfortable. But I have to be extremely cautious because my tongue just instantly goes. Even for cigars, kind of towards the end of a cigar, I have to be really careful because the heat, of course, when you light up a cigar, it's fine, but the closer you get to the end of a cigar, it really starts to heat up. And for me, that imbalance just really sets off my tongue and creates tongue bite for me. That's kind of why from the start I've always just been filtered. But in terms of that Stricom, there's some Latakia blends, Englishes, Balkans that I can smoke in that. I found those to be a lot more cooler. I attempted to smoke one of my favourite Virginias in that. That lasted about 10 seconds. So yeah, it's a pipe that I don't smoke too often because of that reason, of course. But it's nice to have a little bit of change of pace. But yeah, the main feature is definitely 9mm. And then second to that, for me, is weight. I like a light pipe, kind of something like this, gorgeous pipe. It just doesn't get smoked as much anymore because of the weight to it. It has great balance to it, so you don't notice that weight anymore. But it's quite a big bowl. Whereas I would say the main three pipes are this Billiard, this, I can see that postcard's gone, this Slight Bit Apple, and this Liverpool. All three of them are very lightweight, have a great balance to the pipes. The bowls aren't too big. I tend to smoke, I would say, like in this pipe I might smoke a half bowl, whereas in these ones they can be full bowls, but they might last me say 35 minutes, 40 minutes, which is the ideal time for me. I don't typically sit down for hours on end with a pipe, but I try and always have kind of half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour where I can sit back and enjoy a pipe. But yeah, that was a little story about kind of my thoughts behind pipe shapes and what I like, my preferences. I don't think I actually really concluded to any certain point kind of what my real preference is. But I would say the main two are slight bent, I would say not full bent apples, but kind of slight bent to quarter bent apples, and then straight billiards are probably my favourite. But yeah, that being said, hope everyone takes care. You guys have a great rest of your week. Cheers.